Hi, welcome to Everyday Movie Recap. For today, we will recap the horror movie called Dark Harvest from the year 2023. The story revolves around a Midwest town where teen boys hunt and kill a creature that emerges from the cornfields every year. Have you seen this movie yet? If not, sit back, relax, and hold on to your seats. A group of youngsters wearing masks set out to find the monster in 1962. One of them is terrified and unsure of what to do as they stand by alone on the road. The boy screams as Sawtooth Jack suddenly emerges behind him and kills him. Shortly after, his friends discover their friend's burned corpse and spot Sawtooth Jack standing in the center of the cornfield. Jim becomes enraged and starts after the monster right away. Just as the monster is about to get to the chapel, Jim catches up to him and mercilessly beats him to death. After he takes some candy from Jack's body, the others follow suit, letting out a yell in celebration of Jim's triumph. Jim receives all of his awards as the Harvesters Guild hosts a Halloween party to commemorate another successful run. Before leaving town in his brand new car, Jim gives his younger brother Richie a hug and says, "I love you." Richie wants Jim to take him with him. The following year, Sheriff Jerry visits school 5 days before Halloween and he shows the teenagers images from the year they were unsuccessful in killing Sawtooth Jack. That caused black duster which devastated their crops, which is why the ritual to kill Sawtooth is crucial to the harvest success. Richie is irritated by Jim's frequent citation as a hero since he wants to participate in the run but is prevented by the regulations. Riley teases him for wanting to offer assistance even though the others are genuinely at a loss for options. Though Bud claims to have seen Sawtooth Jack outside his window as a child, some of the teens believe Sawtooth Jack is a costumed adult and not genuine. Riley also taunts him, which starts a brawl that is promptly broken up by the grown-ups. In an attempt to end the fight, Richie hides inside a movie theater as Riley follows him down the street. There, he meets Kelly, a recent arrival to the area. They strike up a conversation and get along well, but when Richie invites her to the Halloween dance, she says she can't go since she's black. If Richie prevails in this year's race, he vows to alter that regulation. Then he gets together with his closest pals Bud and Mitch, who have been hearing some terrible tales about Kelly, but Richie doesn't think they're true. Additionally, his pals persuade him to violate the rules and participate in the run, saying that he is faster than his siblings. After Richie returns home in the evening, his parents Dan and Donna give him a postcard from Jim, whom they haven't seen since he won the last race. After Richie tells his parents he will participate in the run regardless of the regulations, there is an argument in which Dan slaps his own kid. Richie gets even more upset over this and tells his parents they can't stop him. He bolts to his room, climbs out the window, meets Jim's former girlfriend, and spends the evening smoking. In the meantime, the farmer in the cornfields approaches a vacant scarecrow stand and starts carving a pumpkin. Then, after they've put on the pumpkin head, he climbs the now empty stand to find Sawtooth Jack. Riley catches Richie the following day and begins abusing him before taking his belt. Jim loved this story because he remembered the brothers wearing matching belts. Richie gets angry and attempts to defend himself with a knife, but Riley just beats him up more and walks away. When Richie returns home, he discovers his brother's letter waiting for him in the mail. Jim begs Richie not to participate in the run since their parents need him and expresses regret for not getting in touch with them sooner. Richie chooses to steal a car and leave the area since he is fed up with being treated like a baby. But Jerry gets in his way as soon as he crosses the bridge and gets to the open road. When Richie tries to flee, Jerry knocks him out before he can even get out of the car. That evening, every parent locks their children in their rooms to prevent them from running away or hiding and joining the run. In a state of desperation, the guys pound on doors and walls, pleading for food or a restroom break, but their requests go unanswered. It is intended to drive them insane, make them ravenous for the run, so they have to spend 3 days in this manner. The farmer prepares Sawtooth Jack for action by filling it with candy on Halloween night and cutting his rope. Ultimately, the town releases all of the teenage boys so they can head to the streets and begin the hunt. After hearing from Dan about a promising job offer for the future, Richie wakes up in his bedroom, but all he wants is to run. Donna and Dan both beg him to stay, but Richie departs the house despite their requests. Bud, Charlie, and Mitch steal a truck to give them an advantage in the run. When certain boys suspect them of cheating, Mitch swiftly intimidates them and gets them to stop. Richie eventually joins them at that point, but before they are able to leave, the nasty group of bullies reappears and begins to damage the truck. Richie diverts their attention with food while Mitch keeps them at bay once more, and eventually, the boys drive off. They put on masks as they leave town and discover that the butcher is on guard to keep everyone away. Because they think it's cheating, other boys also hurl objects at the truck. Bud is scared when they go to the cornfields because he still recalls the day he saw the Sawtooth monster. As for the rest of the participants, they are thrilled to be there. He does not wish to do this, in contrast to his friends. Mitch had to brake the truck in order to prevent crashing when it suddenly struck something on the road. When they get out to investigate because the vehicle won't start, they discover that the road is deserted. Then, believing the truck had struck Sawtooth Jack and they had already killed him, they see Candy next to the cornfield and rush to begin devouring it. But when they turn around, they hear a noise, and they find that the Sawtooth Jack is actually waiting in the center of the field. The boys rush towards him, but the monster murders Charlie and the other boys in a couple of seconds. Mitch is also slain while attempting to locate the bodies. The youngster then begins to flee as Sawtooth Jack roars at him and gives Richie a long look. He keeps going until he comes across the empty stand, where he is startled to see Kelly, who is also breaking the rules. Richie is shocked to see Bud rushing by as well. He quickly returns to town after learning that all he had been doing had been pretending to be dead in order to get out of this. But his parents refuse to let him in and advise him to be a man since they need the money. As Bud mulls over his options, Sawtooth Jack suddenly approaches him. He flees, finding a shelter where a few boys are sheltering. But before they let him in, the boys wanted real money from Bud. Unfortunately, Bud doesn't have any. The teenagers are fighting over whether or not to open the door when all of a sudden there is a lot of screaming. One boy chooses to open the door despite their objections, only to discover that Sawtooth Jack has killed Bud. A small boy screaming on an adjacent window witnesses Sawtooth Jack enter the refuge, kill all the teenagers and cause a torrent of blood to pour out of the entrance. Going back to Richie and Kelly, they decide to collaborate but will require stronger weaponry. Once back in town, they break into Jerry's house covertly in order to take some alcohol and a rifle. While they are there, Richie is startled to find his father hammering frantically on Jerry's door, looking worried, but he departs when no one responds. As Dan searches a neighbor's home for Jerry, Richie, and Kelly also loot the police car. The kids have already left, so Jerry can only take a window shot when he emerges to yell at Dan. After learning over the car radio that the monster has been sighted downtown, Richie and Kelly decide to go there. While the teenagers burst into establishments to collect as much food as they can, chaos has descended onto the main street. The youths overwhelm the butcher, beat him to death, and then take his meat as he fights to protect his business, even killing a few of them. The sight of what Richie and Kelly witnessed shocks them beyond belief, but before they can go, Riley finds them and mocks Kelly for being a girl in the run and even go as far as to make fun of her skin color. Kelly is grabbed by Riley's gang member, but Richie is finally enraged enough to defend himself. He beats the two men down and then points a revolver at them. Before they leave, Richie reclaims his belt and Kelly seizes the opportunity to attack them with her club as well. In the meantime, the other boys are beginning to go completely insane and may possibly murder one another. When Sawtooth Jack discovers a trio roaming by themselves, he strikes once more. A short while later, Richie informs Kelly about the unpleasant tales he has heard about her and says he doesn't believe them. Kelly then admits that he did, in fact, burn down an elderly man's barn because he was a racist. Richie admits that he misses his brother and that all they've heard from him is the odd postcard. Kelly also mentions that her parents are already deceased. They are in the middle of talking when they hear on the radio that Sawtooth Jack has spotted somewhere else. Without realizing that Jerry is laying up a trap and that the news is false, the two head in that direction. When they get to Oak Street, they first come across a blood-covered statue before Sawtooth Jack shows himself in front of them. Rushing to meet the beast, Richie stops short upon realizing that Jack is wearing his brother's belt. Richie checks on Kelly as she tries to hit the beast with her club, but Sawtooth Jack strikes her in the back and runs away. A neighbor emerges and threatens to shoot them, forcing them to escape. When the two return to the car, Jerry finds them and aims his gun through the window at Richie. He makes fun of Kelly's parents and says he killed them because they were trying to get out of town. Kelly becomes enraged and strikes him, causing him to fire his revolver, narrowly missing the side of her head. Jerry is promptly shoved aside by Richie, and the two get out of the automobile. Sawtooth Jack enters Jim's previous house and finds all of the messages that were written on the wall during the 3 days when Jim was confined to his room before to the run. The creature tears apart the entire building, howling in misery. Dan meets Jerry not far from there and informs him he is unable of doing this task. Jerry screams at him, telling him that this town needs to be brave and do what needs to be done since the year they didn't perform the ceremony, he lost a loved one. Dan sobs but is unable to stand against an officer. When they get to Richie's house a short while later, Donna is visibly disoriented after taking too much medication. When Richie begins to inquire about the past winners, he discovers that each of them had a similar destiny, either they passed dead unexpectedly or they moved far away and never got back in touch with their loved ones. Richie begins to suspect that Donna, not Jim, was the one who wrote the letter and the postcards. When he begs his mother for the truth, Donna tells him that this must stop and self-kills. Her statements support Richie's suspicions. The winners aren't enjoying luxurious lives, rather, they are being sacrificed in order for Sawtooth Jack to reappear in the body of the winner of the horrifying event. Richie says he has to stop this, even though Kelly wants to leave town. In the city center, Jim's old house caught fire, causing alarm among the residents. Riley approaches Jerry and claims to have seen Sawtooth Jack close by. Jerry gives Riley his revolver and gets him into the car. When Richie and Kelly arrive at the church to wait for Sawtooth Jack, they are shocked to see Dan present. A fight breaks out as Richie refers to his father as a monster, but Dan maintains that parents don't know anything until their son triumphs. After that, they are sworn to silence by the Harvesters Guild, who threaten to kill them if they try to escape or tell anybody. When Dan finds out that his wife has passed away, he loses it and asks Richie to go away and let him handle the fighting. Sawtooth Jack suddenly materializes outside as the church bell begins to sound. With a quick greeting in the name Jim, Richie demonstrates his good intentions. Quickly embracing him and addressing him as Jim, Richie conveys his good intentions. Richie holds Jack in his arms as Kelly rushes to strike Riley, who regrettably arrives and shoots the beast. Jerry intervenes as well and forces Riley to attempt again, but Richie deters Riley with his own gun after a second shot. To Richie's surprise, Sawtooth Jack reaches out and grips his hand in a request to put an end to his misery. Richie shoots his brother after apologizing and expressing his desire for this to end as well. Jerry congratulates him on his accomplishment as the guys dash to get the sweets. Richie, however, is feeling empty. Richie is still grumpy later in the celebration and doesn't seem to care about the joy going on around him. But he doesn't care about the racists criticizing them for being an interracial relationship. He dances with Kelly and gives her a kiss as soon as he sees her come. He receives a gun from Kelly in secret, and they decide to flee together later. When Jim's ex asks him to take her with him, he declines and drives out in his brand new automobile after the party. Dan tries to shoot Jerry in retaliation while Richie is driving away, but before he can, Jerry gets to him first. Kelly is picked up by Richie shortly after, and the two of them head out of town. Richie tries to accelerate as soon as Jerry gets in the police car and starts chasing them. But he had to stop the automobile after nearly colliding with another car on the road. After forcing Kelly to hide, Richie exits the vehicle, only for Jerry to force him to enter the cornfields while pointing a revolver. Once they reach the clear area, Richie turns back and kills Jerry with 2 gunshots. The farmer then reappears and strikes Richie in the head, causing him to fall into the pit he has already dug. The farmer breaks Richie's hand and begins burying him alive. The farmer finishes up and drives off, showing that he is in the automobile that was obstructing Richie's car. Kelly eventually emerges from hiding once she is certain she is alone. Dan discovers her and advises her to seize the opportunity to leave town. Without any further breaks, Kelly flees while sobbing uncontrollably. The movie ends 1 year after the incident and shows the farmer digging out Richie's body from the pit. The cycle repeats itself and Richie will become the new Sawtooth. That Halloween, goes to the field and frees his son who ravages the town. At the same time, Dan gets his revenge on the farmer by killing him. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy this movie. For more content like this, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel. See you in our next video.